Hey Bulls and Bears, JJ here. You watching Bull to the Bust? It is July 14th, 2020. It is Tuesday. Welcome to this report. We've got a lot of news to cover here as we continue to document this circling the drain, so to speak, of the U.S. economy, how the bankers, the monopoly men are attempting to keep this economy propped up, along with the country's leaders. With what they describe as unlimited backing of the economy. We've got the puppet masters pulling the strings, and right now if the strings were to be cut and the support were to be pulled away, then you would see literally millions of people losing the roof over their head right now. Okay, we've talked in plenty of detail about the moratoriums, the assistance programs, in some locations even utilities. Utility companies providing assistance to people. It's absolute insanity how unprepared most of the United States population was for this, but it's really not surprising because most people have been lured into this false sense of complacency that nothing bad could ever happen here in the U.S. And if something did happen, don't worry, because the government has support systems in place to help everybody that needs it. Well, when you look at the homeless population increasing in all these different cities, when you look at the wealth transfer up to the top elite percent of the population, when you look at the number of people that lost their homes, and the home ownership rate never recovered since the previous financial crisis, 2007, 2008, we see that people are getting in more and more debt and under more and more control financially and becoming more needy instead of less needy. So this has been going in the wrong direction for a long time. Now the shutdown has magnified this problem and these issues, and now it's being used as a scapegoat for everything that's happening right now. But let's get into a lot of news here we have to cover. Start off right here, Wall Street Journal. This is not a normal recession. Banks ready for a wave of defaults. All right, so we're going to read a little bit out of this article, but this opens up a lot of questions. On one hand, we have the too big to fail belief that the banks are going to be propped up no matter what. So why would the banks need to ready for the recession? No matter how many losses they sustain, no matter how many people stop paying their loans, the bank can just get unlimited help from the Fed. They've even said that. The Fed has said that. Unlimited liquidity, unlimited assistance. So why would the banks need to brace for losses? Well, maybe they're floating this out there as an excuse not to lend. Can you imagine what would happen when the economy crashes if the banks stop lending? Well, it's only going to be people with cash. It's only going to be the richer portion of the population that can afford to buy homes and survive that downturn without lending. All right, so out of this article, JP Morgan, Citigroup, Wells Fargo stockpile $28 billion to cover potential losses. All right, so very interesting. What does this mean? Why do they need to stockpile? After all, the liquidity injections have stopped. We reported on that recently, because the banks no longer need to have any reserves in order to lend money. So why are they stockpiling? Very interesting. Maybe they see something on the horizon that hasn't been put out there publicly yet. Maybe something is about to happen. We'll have to wait and see. Recent Forbes article right here. Top Fed officials are starting to brace for a prolonged recession. Wait a minute. Starting to brace? That doesn't make any sense. We've been bracing here for over 2 years now. And these are the experts. These are the top officials, and they're just now starting to brace. That doesn't make much sense at all. What's up with that? I thought these guys were the expert. They should have been warning us on what was going to happen years ago. Maybe they're not experts after all. So we've got Treasury Secretary here, Steve Mnuchin. We've got Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed. And you got to love the elbow bump right there. And you can wonder what their conversations might be like. Hey, Steve. Hey, Jerome. What's up, buddy? Isn't it great being a monopoly man? That's right. We could just print endless money out of nothing and hand it out to whoever we want to. That's right. PPP loans that are forgivable to billionaires. And then when the economy takes a dive, we'll just take back people's cars and homes. And then at that time, we'll say, sorry, we're out of money. The money ran out. We can no longer print that out of nothing. Yeah, we can pretty much do whatever we want because the American people, they're not paying attention. The American people, they're too worried about the Real Housewives. How many points their favorite player got, and party, and they don't care. All right. I joke a little bit, but let's get into this article right here. Why is the Fed worried now about a prolonged recession? What's happening? What's changed? Why now? Top officials have launched what appears to be a coordinated shift in tune in public remarks over the last couple of weeks, particularly the prospect of worsening second wave of infections that could deal yet another blow to an already fragile economy. And we've talked about this several times. We did a whole video about it. I believe it was called Shutdown 2.0. And yes, we talked about this over a week ago right here. And in many areas where the shutdowns are going to be most heavily implemented, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get hurt. Now, in California here, we're shutting down a lot of our schools, and the parents are having a very, very difficult time now. And a lot of parents that my wife talks to, and I've seen it in the news, a lot of parents are worried because many people, even if they were able to go back to work, even if their business remained open, they rely on these schools for childcare. It's like free childcare. And now many parents, even if they are offered a job or have a job, they still cannot go because now they have no one to watch their kid. And many of these people don't have money for daycare. Many of the daycares aren't even open. They don't have money to pay for a babysitter because, again, the school was used as, in many cases, a free childcare location. All right, so people with kids, parents, they are going to feel the biggest pain during this shutdown. And I feel really bad for families and especially the kids. If people have to move in with relatives, who knows how bad this is going to get. Again, the puppet masters control all this. So if they cut the strings, all of this could collapse at any moment. It's all about support right now with endless fiat money being pumped into the system. Another article right here, NPR.org. We still face much uncertainty. Pandemic hammers big banks. There's actually banks that lost money in the second quarter. Wells Fargo lost $2.4 billion in the second quarter. That's the first quarterly loss since 2008 during the financial crisis. And it's going to cut its dividend to shareholders. Also, Citigroup saw its profit drop by 73% in the quarter. Let's be clear, these banks have essentially become gambling houses. And if it were not for the investment that we call gambling, many of these banks, most of these banks would have lost money. Excerpt out of this article: with the financial markets booming, JP Morgan Chase made $9.7 billion from trading stocks and bonds, 79% more than a year earlier. It really must be nice to be able to bet or gamble or invest as much as you want, not having to worry about if you lose because you're a too big to fail financial institution, and the endless money monopoly men will just come to the rescue because, again, we can't let the banks fail, otherwise prices might fall. All right, we can't have deflation. Let's take a look right here at some precious metals prices. We see gold still holding over 1800 at 1808. Silver, nice bid, up over $19.24 as I'm recording this. People, if you haven't diversified yet into some precious metals, I highly recommend it. I think there could be an entirely new monetary system coming when this current system finally fails and it's on its last legs right now, in my opinion. And I think after the financial wipeout, after the economic collapse, people are finally going to wake up and maybe stop watching The Real Housewives and stop worrying about sports and maybe start paying attention to how the system actually operates and how everybody's basically been robbed and kicked into the poorhouse, if you know what I mean. So diversify. There's a link down below. If you'd like to pick up some metals, go there. If you hit Doc's Deals, that'll go right to the in-stock of metals. I personally am getting as much silver as I can. You actually do help the channel if you use that link down there. Thanks everybody for watching this report. Hope everybody stays well, stay prepared, and we'll see you back here soon for another update. Bye for now.